Did you know that over 30,000 heavy metal stars have taken the stage worldwide, but only a handful are remembered after their tragic deaths, from Dio's quiet fall to Dimebag Darrell being gunned down mid-performance in front of a screaming crowd? Here are 25 worst ways heavy metal stars have died. 1. Ronnie James Dio. Ronnie James Dio died from stomach cancer in 2010. Heavy metal lost one of its biggest names. He wasn't just a singer, he was a storm in human form. His voice could shake mountains. He looked like a wizard and sang like a god. People didn't just listen to him, they followed him. He made metal feel like magic. And then cancer showed up and pulled the plug on everything. It wasn't quick, it was slow, ugly, like watching a castle fall brick by brick. One day he was rocking the stage, and the next, the fight was inside him. The kind of fight no guitar solo could save him from. Fans watched, helpless. The man who brought dragons to life in his songs was fading away, and no one could stop it. He didn't cry or hide, he faced it. People say he was strong, brave, but that doesn't make it hurt less. Watching Dio disappear was like watching the lights go out in a city that never sleeps. His death didn't just end a life, it ended a whole chapter of music. One moment he was thundering, then silence, just silence. 2. Lane Staley. Lane Staley was the kind of voice you don't forget. He was the sound of pain, raw and real. In 2002, that voice went quiet. He died alone in his apartment from a mix of opioid and stimulant. A speedball, a deadly cocktail. But what makes this worse? No one noticed he was gone. Not for days, not for weeks. Imagine that, a star, a legend, and no one came knocking, no one checked. By the time they found him, he had already started to disappear. His body was melting into the shadows of his own room. That wasn't just death, that was erased. Staley sang like he was always hurting, because he was. Every note, every word carried the weight of someone who couldn't breathe in peace. He didn't need fame, he needed help. But fame doesn't fix broken souls, it hides them. 3. Cliff Burton. Cliff Burton was just 24 when it happened. 1986, a cold Swedish road, a tour bus, and a flip that changed everything. Thrown out of the bus, crushed beneath it. It was fast, brutal, and senseless. No warnings, no slow fade, just gone. Cliff wasn't just the bass player in Metallica, he was the weird genius behind their madness. He made the band sound deep, wild, different. He didn't just play the bass, he made it talk. He made it scream. The crash was no story about rock star trouble or wild nights. It was just bad luck, cold and sharp. He swapped bunks with another bandmate that night. Pure chance. That's what took him. A simple trade. One life ends, one keeps going. After that, Metallica got bigger, sold out arenas, made history. But they lost something that night on that road. They lost the spark that made it all feel dangerous and alive. Cliff was the heart in the chaos, and when it stopped beating, nothing was ever the same. 4. Dimebag Darrell. Dimebag Darrell was shot dead while playing live in 2004. This one still makes people sick. A stage, a guitar, a crowd full of love, and then a gun, right there in front of fans, friends, and family. One moment he was bringing fire to the stage. The next, he was on the floor, bleeding, gone. The man who survived band fights, fame, and the rise and fall of Pantera didn't fall because of the music. He was slain because someone brought madness into his world. A man with a gun walked up and ended it all. Fast, loud, wrong. People ran, people screamed, but it was too late. Dimebag died doing what he loved most, playing, giving, living for the crowd. His guitar creed one last note. Then, nothing. He didn't get old. He didn't get to fade. He was stolen. The world watched a light go out in real time, and the hole he left still wide open, still bleeding. And the echo of that night never really stopped, because when you die in front of everyone, Your story never truly ends. It keeps replaying. Every time the lights go down and a guitar pickup, people remember, and they never forget. 5. Randy Rhoads. Randy Rhoads didn't die in a way that made sense. He didn't crash on stage or burn out from years of hard living. No, Randy died because someone thought flying a small plane like it was a toy would be a fun way to spend the morning. It was 1982, and Randy was just 25. A rising star with wild hair, crazy skill, and a quiet way about him that made fans love him even more. He played guitar like it was magic, mixing soft, sweet notes with screaming solos. He was the calm in Ozzy Osbourne's storm. But that day, a pilot got behind the controls and decided to fly low, circle the band's tour bus, and show off. The plane buzzed the bus over and over. They laughed, thinking it was just fun. Until it wasn't. One turn too sharp, one mistake too fast. The wing clipped the bus. The plane hit a tree. Then it slammed into a house. Everyone inside died in seconds. No final show. No goodbye. Just ashes and questions. 6. Jeff Hanneman. Jeff Hanneman was the heart of Slayer. He didn't smile much. He didn't need to. His guitar did the talking, and it screamed. Jeff made songs that felt like war, fast, sharp, and loud. But behind all the sound was a man slowly falling apart, one quiet piece at a time. It started small, a spider bite, something silly, something most people shake off. But this bite turned into a nightmare. His flesh started to rot. Doctors used long words and scared faces. He had to stop playing. At first, fans waited. Then they worried. Then they just didn't see him anymore. Jeff stayed hidden, and while he was away, the bottle became his new friend. Years passed. People said he was drinking too much, that he wasn't the same, but no one did much. In 2013, his liver gave up, gone, just like that. He didn't die in a crash. He didn't go out screaming. He faded like a light no one saw dimming. Slayer kept going, but everyone felt it. Jeff was the fire. Without him, they were just sparks. His death was a whisper that echoed louder than any song he wrote. 7. Paul Gray. Paul Gray didn't look like someone who could break. Big guy, played bass like a beast, wore a mask on stage, and melted faces with Slipknot. But behind all that noise was someone soft, someone who felt too much. He held the band together. He was the glue in all that chaos. In 2010, Paul was found alone in a hotel bed, empty. A needle nearby, morphine, fentanyl, death in his veins. He didn't cry for help. He just vanished. 1 minute he was part of the madness. The next, he was a headline. The band was crushed. Fans were stunned. But what hit hardest? No one was really shocked. People nodded. They had seen the pain, felt the silence, and still nothing changed. Paul had been hurting for a long time, but heavy metal doesn't like to show weakness. It hides it behind guitars and growls. 8. Kevin DuBrow. Kevin DuBrow lived loud. His hair, his voice, his everything. He was glam metal's wild child. Quiet Riot ruled the world once. Stadiums, lights, screaming fans. And at the front, Kevin yelling into the mic like he owned the sky. But fame is a funny thing. One day, you're a star. Next, no one returns your calls. By 2007, Kevin wasn't on magazine covers. He wasn't on stage. He was alone in his home, with stimulants in his blood and silence in the air. No big fall, no drama. Just a quiet death in a quiet room. A rock god turned ghost. Fans cried, sure, but again, not surprised. Kevin had been slipping. The fire was there, but the world stopped watching. And when no one's watching, it's easy to fall apart. 9. Steve Clark. Steve Clark was just 30 when he died in 1991. He wasn't some unknown guy trying to make it big. He was the lead guitarist of Def Leppard, a band that packed stadiums and ruled rock radio. But the game didn't save him. Behind all the noise, lights, and music, Steve was falling apart. He battled addiction for years, not just drinking at parties, real, deep, dangerous drinking. Then came the pills, not the kind to help, but the kind that made everything worse. He was mixing things no doctor would ever allow. That mix became deadly. One night it was too much. His body gave out. Just like that, one of rock's most gifted guitarists was gone. People close to him said he always seemed lost, like he was walking through a storm no one else could see. He played shows like a pro, but when the crowd went quiet, so did his smile. His solos were wild and full of life. But offstage, life didn't feel that way to him. Steve wasn't just partying, he was trying to run from pain. The saddest part? He still had so much music left in him, so many songs he never got to play. He was young, famous, and talented. But none of that kept him safe. Fame gave him everything, except peace. 10. Gary Moore. Gary Moore didn't live loud like others. He didn't chase headlines or scandals, but when he played guitar, the world had to stop and listen. His solos were fire and soul mixed together. His fingers danced, screamed, and cried through the strings. People who watched him knew they were seeing something rare, something real. In 2011, he died in his sleep, a heart attack. No warning, no goodbye. One minute he was resting, the next he was gone. You'd think someone so full of sound would leave in noise, but no, he left in silence. That's what makes it feel so wrong. A quiet ending for someone who made music roar. He wasn't always in the spotlight, but that never mattered to real fans. His talent was too big to hide. Ask any serious guitarist. Gary was the one they looked up to, the one they tried to copy but never could. He made it look easy, but it wasn't. It was skill, pain, years of playing, and heart. 11. Clive Burr. Clive Burr sat behind the drums in the early days of Iron Maiden and made the band move. His playing wasn't just fast, it was powerful, loud, and full of fire. Fans didn't just hear the music, they felt it. And a lot of that came from Clive's hands. But his body had other plans. Clive got hit with multiple sclerosis, a sickness that slowly takes away your control. First, your arms feel weak, then your legs. Then one day, even walking is hard. For someone who lived through rhythm, it was cruel. Imagine going from blasting drums in front of thousands to struggling just to hold a stick. By 2013, Clive had lost the fight. The disease won. But not in spirit. Fans never stopped loving him. The band never forgot him. They helped pay for his care and spoke of him with respect. They knew what he gave them: energy, fire, and rhythm. And even though he left the band early, he helped shape its sound. 12. Chuck Schuldiner. Chuck Schuldiner didn't follow the rules. He broke them, rebuilt them, and made new ones. He gave the world death metal, not just noise, but emotion turned into heavy sound. His songs weren't just fast and loud. They were sharp, deep, and full of meaning. He didn't scream to scare. He screamed because it mattered. But at 2001, the voice stopped. Chuck had cancer in his brain. It hit hard and fast. And like everything else in his life, he faced it head on. He didn't hide. He didn't stop working. He kept writing, fighting, and creating. Even while sick, his mind was still full of music. He needed help. Fans gave money. Musicians offered support. But cancer doesn't care about fame. It doesn't listen to songs. It just keeps growing. And one day, it grew too much. Chuck's body said no more. Just like that, the man who made death metal alive was gone. 13. Peter Steele. Peter Steele looked like a vampire who just walked out of a haunted castle. He was tall, like really tall, 6'8". He had wild black hair, pale skin, and eyes so green they looked like they glowed in the dark. His voice was deep, slow, and smooth, like someone reading scary poems by candlelight. People thought he would live forever. He didn't. At 2010, Peter died from a heart attack, just like that. 1 minute he was alive, the next he was gone. No big warning, no last goodbye. Fans were shocked. Some thought it was a joke. After all, he had faked his death before, but this time it was real. The frontman of Type O Negative, the guy who made goth metal into something dark, romantic, and cool, was dead. Peter lived fast and full of pain. He drank too much, felt too much, and spent years fighting sadness. He poured it all into his music. His lyrics were dark, full of love and death and lonely nights. He wrote songs like someone bleeding on a page. And even when he smiled, there was always something heavy behind his eyes. 14. Robin Crosby. Robin Crosby looked like a rock god. He had long blonde hair, stood tall like a statue, and wore clothes that sparkled. He played guitar in Rat, one of the biggest glam metal bands in the 80s. On stage, he looked like he owned the world, but off stage, things were falling apart. Robin started using opioids. At first, it was just fun. Parties, loud music, bright lights. But the fun didn't last. The substances took more and more from him. His health got worse. His body got weaker. He was living in pain, both inside and out. And while the world still remembered the rock star, Robin was slowly disappearing. In 2002, he died from an opioid overdose. He was only 42. People said it was a tragedy, but it felt more like a slow, sad ending that everyone saw coming. Robin had been trying to fight back. He talked about his struggles. He wanted to get clean, but the damage was already too deep. 15. Jill Janis. Jill Janis was loud, bold, and fearless. She could sing like a storm and scream like a fire alarm. She led the band Huntress and wasn't afraid of standing out. With her voice, her power, and her wild energy, she made people stop and listen. But behind her strong image was a long fight with her own mind. Jill lived with bipolar disorder. Some days she felt on top of the world. Other days she sank deep into dark places. She tried to keep going. She kept performing, writing, and working, but it got harder and harder to stay above the surface. At 2018, Jill took her own life. She was only 42. The news hit like a punch. Fans couldn't believe it. She seemed so strong. But that's the thing about mental health. It hides in plain sight. It doesn't care if you're famous or talented or loved. Jill's death forced people to look closer. How many other artists are hurting in silence? How many smiles are fake? The music world talks a lot about talent, but not enough about pain. Jill sang like a warrior, but she also needed help, and we didn't give it to her in time. 16. Mike Scaccia. Mike Scaccia didn't just play guitar, he attacked it. Fast, loud, wild. He played with bands like Ministry and Rigor Mortis. Every time he hit the stage, he gave it all. Sweat flew, strings snapped. His fingers moved like fire. He lived for that moment, the sound, the crowd, the roar. In 2012, Mike was on stage with Rigor Mortis. It was a normal show. Loud music, flashing lights, fans cheering. Then, in the middle of a song, he collapsed. Just dropped. Right there, in front of everyone. He had a heart attack and died. 1 second he was playing. The next, he was gone. People didn't know what to do. Was it part of the show? Was he okay? The room went cold. There was no warning, no chance to say goodbye. It was fast, sudden, and terrifying. Some say it's poetic to die doing what you love. But Mike didn't want to die. He didn't plan for this. He wasn't finished. He was just doing what he always did, giving 100%. But bodies can only take so much. Years of touring, stress, and non-stop shows can wear a person down. 19. Algie Ward. Algie Ward was part of the new wave of British heavy metal. That's a big deal, right? You'd think so, but when he died in 2023, most people didn't even blink. He had already slipped away from the spotlight years before, living in the shadows, alone, tired, cut off from the world that once cheered for him. He started the band Tank. They weren't huge, but they mattered. They helped shape a whole sound. And Algie? He lived fast, played hard, and then vanished. No red carpets, no music awards, no big farewell tour, just silence. Like the world had already decided to forget him before he was even gone. When the news came, it felt like a footnote. Oh, he passed? Huh, that kind of cold shrug. No one wants to think about their heroes fading. But that's what happened. He gave everything he had, and in return, he got barely a whisper. 22. Tony It Serca. Tony Serca, who called himself It, was not like the others. He didn't want the bright lights or the big stage. He wanted darkness. His music wasn't pretty. It was raw, ugly, wild. It sounded like something you'd hear in a nightmare. People who liked clean music stayed far away. But the ones who liked it rough, they followed him. They saw him as something special, a dark star, but stars don't last forever. And Tony didn't shine for long. His life was full of chaos. His thoughts were heavy, his world always spinning. He stayed away from people, stayed inside. The loud man on stage became quiet. He stopped playing, stopped talking. Years went by. The fans waited, but he stayed hidden. By 2017, he was completely alone. His end didn't make noise. There were no news flashes. No one rushed to say goodbye. One day, he just wasn't there anymore. He died alone, far from the stage, far from the music. His death didn't get a tribute, didn't get a concert or a post full of hearts and crying emojis. Just silence. 23. Dave Holland. Dave Holland sat behind the drums during some of Judas Priest's biggest years. He wasn't in the spotlight, but he was the engine. His beats made the songs move. He played in packed stadiums. People screamed. The lights were bright. It looked like a dream. But dreams turn into nightmares fast, and Dave's fall was hard, really hard. He didn't just fade away. He fell into scandal, the kind of scandal that makes people run the other way. One day, he was a rock star. Next, he was someone no one wanted to talk about. People shut their doors. The band moved on. And Dave? He vanished. He didn't try to fight back. He didn't scream for a second chance. He just disappeared. Far from England, far from the fans. He ended up in Spain, not for a vacation, not for peace, just to hide. He was sick, alone, and at 2018, he died in a hospital room. There were no cameras there, no fans waiting outside, no guitars playing softly in his honor. Just a quiet, cold ending. A hospital beep. A final breath. No one wrote long posts. No one made documentaries. His name was buried under his past. In heavy metal, some deaths turn into legends. Some names get shouted forever, but not Dave. His name became a whisper. His past is louder than his music. His end is darker than his songs. And maybe the saddest part? Not that he died, but when he did, it felt like the world had already forgotten he was ever alive. So here we are, 3 lives, 3 stories. None of them got the ending you'd hope for. No fire, no glory, just cold, quiet exits. They played loud music, but their deaths barely made a sound. And that's the cruel trick of this world. You can give it everything, scream until your throat bleeds, and still vanish without a trace. Razzle Nicholas Dingley. Nicholas Razzle. Dingley didn't have to die that night, but he did. And it was stupid, fast, and loud, just like the world he lived in. The wild drummer of Hanoi Rocks was only 24 years old when it all came crashing down. It was December of 1984. The band had come to Los Angeles to take over America. They were doing it. Big parties, big sound, big dreams. And then someone said they needed more booze. That someone was Vince Neil from Motley Crue. He had the car, a fast, fancy sports car that looked cool and drove like a rocket. Razzle jumped in. Just a quick trip, just a short drive. But Vince had been drinking. A lot. And still, they went. The road didn't care how famous you were. Vince lost control. The car slammed into another. Metal crushed. Glass flew. Screams. When the noise stopped, Razzle was gone. Just like that. Not in a concert. Not behind the drums. Not with a bang. In a car. In a crash. In the middle of a night that should have been just another party. He didn't even make it to 25. This wasn't just a loss for his band. It was like someone had hit pause on the whole glam rock scene. Hanoi Rocks couldn't go on. The magic broke. The rise turned into a fall. And Vince? He walked away. Not just from the crash, from real punishment too. A few weeks in jail. A fine. That was it. He went back to the stage. But the ghost of Razzle never left. People started to see the dark side of all the fun. The glitter started to look like ash. The shows didn't shine the same way. When Razzle died, it wasn't just a friend lost or a band broken. It was a warning. One that came too late. Joshua Nasaru Ward. Joshua Nasaru Ward was the heartbeat of his band. He faced crowds that screamed. He played music that felt like a storm. He screamed into the mic like his soul was on fire. He didn't play it safe. He lived full throttle. Tour after tour, city after city, stage after stage, noise, sweat, rage, love. And then nothing. He didn't die on stage. He didn't die doing what he loved. He died crossing a street. It was 2024. Just a normal night. Until it wasn't. A drunk driver, a fast car, a flash of lights. That's all it took. Nasaru was gone before anyone could scream his name. Think about that. This guy battled the madness of the metal world. Late nights, broken gear, rough crowds, dirty motel rooms. He lived through all of it. And he got taken out by a stranger who couldn't even stay sober. No giant tribute. No movie. No rock opera. Just quiet pain. His bandmates were in shock. One day they were laughing, tuning guitars, making plans. The next, they were staring at his empty spot on the stage. Fans cried. Some posted tributes. But the news cycle moved on fast. Too fast. Because he didn't die in a dramatic way. He didn't burn out in front of 1 million people. He didn't fall from a hotel balcony or overdose on a tour bus. He got hit like anyone else, like someone who mattered less.